The global pandemic has seen many of our everyday activities head online. We're going to look at a particular case, how two traditional folk clubs took to the internet. This is particularly interesting because as traditionalists, they were somewhat reluctant adopters of digital technologies. The Carrington Triangle has been running in Nottingham for over 30 years, and here it is in its normal situation, a crowded upstairs room above a pub with people doing a sing-around, taking it in turns to sing and play. Like many similar activities, the Carrington Triangle took to Zoom. Initially they were concerned with audio quality and especially the sound of traditional instruments. They chose Zoom because of its Enable original audio facility that switches off a lot of the voice processing. Like many of us, they learnt that muting discipline can be tricky, and the host created various protocols for managing this. Their biggest disappointment was they discovered that they couldn't sing together in chorus. For reasons of network latency and bandwidth and Zoom's management of audio, people can't sing along together and hear each other. However, they did find new creative opportunities, use of backdrops for example, and the fact that it felt really good to play along with someone at home even if they couldn't hear you. A second example, Folk BEESTON, has also been running for decades and again would normally take place in the back room of a busy pub. Folk BEESTON took a very different approach to going online. They created a weekly show in a Facebook watch party. Members would create videos, send them in, they would be stitched together, and then once a week everyone would watch them at the same time and text chat with one another. Over the course of 21 shows, they actually evolved multiple ways in which participants could contribute. Yes, they could send in videos, but they could also be hosts, they could interview each other, they could even contribute to the opening doors music, as it was called. They also experimented by introducing a catch-up feature so that people could watch the shows afterwards. They were really pleased, they were proud of the material they produced, and they really upped their production skills as a team and also the ability of members to make videos. But some production fatigue set in. It proved to be extremely time-consuming to make a weekly show, and there was also a constant pressure on performers to produce new videos of a suitable quality. Our paper draws out three ways in which technologies could better support their practices. Firstly, they could do with configurable performance modes. It should be easier to move between performing, chatting, watching a video, and to configure muting and sound and many other properties. Secondly, we could build on this idea of playing along at home to have a more distributed, layered approach to recording, something that mixes live performance with a digital audio workstation. And finally, they really are in need of better production tools and workflows. The kind of things that professionals enjoy using could be made available to them. We consider the question of liveness that's been widely debated in fields beyond HCI. The bottom line, the members of our clubs tried but ultimately failed to replicate the same kind of liveness that they'd enjoyed face-to-face. But instead, they created something new. They combined elements of embodied performance and digitally mediated live experiences into a new format. What's notable is that that extended throughout the whole production process, from pre-production right the way through to replay. We also discussed the question of appropriation. Now, both clubs appropriated existing platforms for their purposes, and we consider how these were more or less open to appropriation. In turn, the technologies transformed their musical practices. For example, having catch-up replays of the show seemed to lead to less repetition of songs than you might normally expect and an impact on their repertoire. A final question that we'll leave you with is what will happen after life returns to the new normal? Will any of these new online practices find their way back into the traditional face-to-face clubs?